through your thick head. I may be a lot of things, but I am not a killer.
You don't have to blow her brains out or anything.
Thank you. That takes the pressure right off.
She's old. She's got a bad ticker. All you gotta do is jerk around a lot when you talk to her. Nice to meet you, Mrs. Lifts.
Evan, what the hell's going on out there?
We woke her up. Nothing, Mama.
Who's this?
This is Cousin Patty. He's gonna be staying with us for a while. Isn't that nice?
You don't have a cousin Patty.
You lied to me.
Welcome to They Call This a Movie, testing the strength of friendships, one terrible movie at a time. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and other podcast services by searching They Call This a Movie, and find us on Twitter and Instagram at TicTamPod. That's TCTAM Pod. Welcome back to They Call This a Movie. This is Anthony Delvecchio, and with me, as always, is Dan Aquino and Mark Meyer. Say hello, gentlemen.
Hi, friends.
Hello, everyone. I know I might be like a week or two late on this, but I just remembered that news came out officially that Netflix is shutting down their DVD mail out part of the business. And all I want to say is rest in peace, people who used it to enhance the Plex collection. So
I never used Netflix for their DVDs that they would send out. So I'm not going to miss that at all.
No, I stopped using it a long time ago, but I did use it a lot in college. You'd had the whole, you put things on the list and never watch them. But until I started doing the Plex collection, and then somebody brought it up to me at work, it was like, yeah, people used to use that just to like rip the DVDs and then put them on a Plex server, right? I was like, fuck, that's a great idea. Why didn't I think of that?
I will admit that I did that a couple of times, but never too extensively. I think I wound up doing like American Gangster. Yeah. And then like that was about it. Maybe 2 or 3 other movies.
Yeah, it's an insane thing that not to get like too serious on news stuff here, but there's still like parts of the country that can't use the Netflix streaming because of internet, and this was like their only way to get new movies in a reliable way.
Well, get out of the sticks, hayseeds.
Yeah. Join the rest of us in the 21st century.
Probably can't listen to this episode either, so fuck them.
But yeah, it feels like the end of an era sort of thing. And Blockbuster going back, it means we're going to start seeing Blockbuster mail DVDs, right? Is that what's going to happen?
Wait, what? Blockbuster's coming back?
Well, they like reactivated the Twitter account, like the actual company that owns them now. So there was, jokes and rumors that they were going to, start up as a streaming service again.
We got to get, I think as a society, we need to get past nostalgia.
Yeah.
Nothing good comes from nostalgia, because for instance, I was dead set on not seeing the Flash movie, and then the new trailer dropped, and it's basically Michael Keaton, his return to Batman. That's the movie. It's just Michael Keaton as Batman.
So are you going to be knocking down the doors of Little Caesars to get them to make the Joker pizza again, Dan?
No. I just realized, like, and I thought to myself, I love Michael Keaton's Batman. He's my favorite. I'm going to go see it. And then I thought to myself, this is just nostalgia. That's all they're banking on is nostalgia. Ezra Miller is a shithead. Why would I go see this movie? Yeah. So we as a society need to just move past the Tobey Maguires coming back and the Michael Keaton's coming back and Blockbuster. Damn. No one needs any of that.
I never thought I'd hear today you'd go after Keaton's Batman.
I love Keaton. He is my favorite Batman. I rewatched Batman '89 last night, and that's perfect. I don't need him to come back as a 70-year-old Batman.
It's because you're obviously waiting for Christmas to watch Batman Returns.
No.
Okay.
Well, yes, that is a Christmas movie, so it counts. But no, I just mean we have this issue with nostalgia, and Hollywood banks off of it, and it just did either of you guys see the Blockbuster show on Netflix? Speaking of
I
both
did
of them, nope. It's a dumpster fire. It was one of the worst things I ever watched, and that's the problem. It's laziness. Oh, we'll bank on nostalgia. We don't really need to write anything clever. People are just gonna eat this up. Hey, remember Blockbuster? So I don't know. It's time to move on.
Yeah,
Sure.
I mean, 100% in all aspects, and that goes even into like TV and video games and stuff with all the remakes they're doing, and TV with the Harry Potter shit that's going on.
Right.
You know, it's the easy thing where it's like a bunch of computers run numbers and go, well, this stuff will make us a bunch of money. We don't need any new ideas. And then they go ahead and do it. And then something like one of the first things with a new idea, you know, in a long time, at least to me, comes out and wins an Oscar. You know what I mean? And it you know, goes to show you that a lot of the stuff we watch is, you know, based in nostalgia and what would make the most money, not what would be good. Obviously, I know it's a business, so the make money part is obvious, but you can create new stuff and new things that'll become nostalgia as well.
Hey, look, I was the one that came out on our podcast after No Way Home and said that it felt hollow, felt like hollow nostalgia. Fun hollow nostalgia, but hollow nostalgia nonetheless. So I'm right there with you.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I was talking about it today with a coworker, and I like No Way Home. I thought it was fine. It was fun, but I'm probably never gonna watch it again. You know, it has zero rewatch value. So it did its job. It made $2 billion, and some of that was mine. So so they won. Hollywood got what they wanted, but I kind of at the same time, none of the people involved, as far as I know, were raging assholes, right? Tom Holland wasn't going around kidnapping kids and running away to Hawaii or something. I can't support him. Ezra Miller being I think it's they. I'm sorry. I apologize. I can't support Ezra Miller because of what they did. Sure. As much as I love Keaton, and Keaton is the GOAT, but this is probably just something I'll wait till it comes out on streaming, I guess, if I'm going to watch it.
Yeah,
so.
and you know, I'm on the same boat as you, but on the other side is that until they started doing all this shit, Ezra Miller was one of my favorite actors to watch. So, you know, it's kind of like, fuck, you know.
Sure.
Well, you also have to justify that movie pass that you have, so.
Right.
I mean, yeah. Yeah, because I'm not going to be using it on May 19th because I already bought my 4DX tickets for that movie. But we'll move on.
What's that? Oh, is that? Oh, never mind. Never mind.
Anyway,
it's talking about nostalgia.
Yeah. Anyway, this week is our April movie of the month, and this month brings in Short King Spring, apparently, according to the internet, I suppose.
Hell yeah!
So this is your guys' time.
Yes. High five, Dan.
2/3 of this podcast are Short Kings.
So what we did is, I guess we pitted 3 quote unquote bad movies that featured actors that were 5'7" and under. Picked Airborne, picked Agent Cody Banks, and then we picked this week's winner. And this week was Mark's pick. So Mark, why don't you tell us what movie you picked and what we watched this week?
Yeah, so I picked Throw Momma from the Train, starring Short Kings, Billy Crystal, and the ultimate Short King, Danny DeVito. This movie I had chosen just because I had it in the back of my head to put it on the list at some point, because it was a movie that just from the title and just remembering how like family members talked about it, I thought it was going to be one of those so bad it's good movies. I was slightly wrong about that. But yeah, and then when I found out what this poll was, I was like, this is perfect. They're both, short guys, and it'd make a pretty good run for the poll. I thought we were speaking of nostalgia. I thought we were going to get like some, people that loved Airborne, because that seems to be. I didn't know how many Gen Xers we had voting in the poll, but amongst my Gen X family members and coworkers, they all screamed that why didn't anybody vote for Airborne? So I'm glad it won. I finally got to watch this movie in full and not just in passing while somebody had on at HBO back in the day. Yeah, I think it's, it was, I shouldn't have been surprised. It was much more of a much better movie than I thought it would be. I mean, there are some ridiculous moments in it, and parts of the plot are just kind of stretching it a little bit. But, the performances are great. It's a nice, breezy, under 90 minutes movie. And I will always get a kick out of anything Danny DeVito does. So I'm glad this wasn't one of the more embarrassing roles of his career.
Okay. Dan, where are you coming from with Throw Mama from the Train?
First time I'd ever seen this movie. And I always get this movie confused with Stop or My Mom Will Shoot.
Okay.
Simply because it's a long title that has mom in it.
Sure.
So anytime a movie has something similar, like a similar title, I tend to get confused. Like the color purple, Purple Rain, I get those confused. And I'm very interested to see what you guys think of this, because I feel as if you guys need to explain it to me. Maybe not explain it, but really talk me into whether I like this movie or I don't like this movie. There is some interesting aspects to it. There's a lot of cool camera shots, some interesting transitions in this movie. The one that sticks out is the transition from the classroom to Billy Crystal's bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just one continuous shot. I liked that. There was Danny DeVito took chances on this movie, and I think for his directorial debut for a movie, he went big, or he at least he tried to do some big things in it. I think the story, I think the plot kind of meanders a little bit. It gets a little stalled from time to time. But I liked a decent amount of it. I don't know if they stuck the landing. I don't know if I followed it 100%. It's a simple premise, but I think it took a little, for a movie that's under 90 minutes, I think it took a little too long to get to that destination.
Sure. Yeah.
And for two comedy giants, DeVito and Crystal, I don't think they had good chemistry. I wasn't fully invested in their relationship.
Yeah. I would say that is the weakest part of the movie for me.
Sure. And, and admittedly, I'm not a huge Billy Crystal fan. I know that's sacrilege as a fellow Yankee fan. It's like if you're a Yankee fan, you have to like Billy Crystal, apparently. But he's funny. I do like him, but I was never a big fan of his acting. I can't tell you why. He's just, maybe he's a little bit before my time. I'm looking forward to what you guys have to say about it.
Okay. I mean, as for me, I've seen this movie a bunch of times. I used to watch I think we taped it off of like Channel 11 WPIX, and I watched it. I don't even know how many times I might have seen this movie when I was a kid. I haven't seen it since I was a kid, so we're talking about maybe like 30 years ago, 34 years ago, or something like that. I think my parents were like, "Oh, it's the woman from Goonies. You watched Goonies, so watch this movie." It's a PG-13 movie. It's nothing too major. I think this is there are things I don't really remember much about. I don't remember it being such a small story told. Like I remember, if you asked me what it was about, it was like that they started planning her murder a lot earlier in the movie, and Billy Crystal was more on board with it than he was in this movie in reality. I also thought it ended in the subway, not on a subway train, not a train out to Mexico or whatever like that, but that's just a small little detail. It's fine. I think the the transitions and stuff that you're talking about, like those directorial choices, definitely feel like a first time director sort of thing. It's like, ooh, well, let me try some trick stuff and stuff like that, which is it's fine. I think Danny DeVito is a competent director for the most part. I think he's got a list of movies that are fine. It sort of hit that usual like darkly comic tone, besides Hoffa, which I think was like his real attempt to be like a prestige director. I think Matilda is his masterpiece.
Mm-hmm.
But it's fun. It's fine. It does not wear out its welcome particularly. It is an 88-minute film, so that's good. It tells a very concise story. I think there are parts where it's just there's those moments where he's like with the scene where he shows him his coin collection. I don't know where that's supposed to go. I mean, it's showing him how he misses his dad, but his dad doesn't really play a part in the story overall.
Yeah, I wonder if it's like maybe something that was cut out of the original script or something, where the reason he really outside of his mom being the way she is, that one of the reasons he wants, her out of the way is because, something more serious, like he thought she was the reason he's not around anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe something like that, and they cut it down for time to tighten it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that coin collection thing is supposed to make him not seem like as much of a crazy person. I don't know if it works well in the current context, but I think that's what they were going for there.
It humanizes Danny DeVito.
Yeah,
but it's such a it's a long stretch to have that happen and then all of a sudden decide, I'll help kill your mother.
Right.
Yeah, I think the one thing I did like about the coin collection thing, if we put it in a little bit of a vacuum, is the way that scene sort of progresses, in that at first it starts out you just think he's a crazy person and just collects coins, just random coins, because of the way he introduces it to Billy Crystal and goes, here's a nickel and this is another nickel, but then as that progression go, this is, they have meaning to them. He's not just a crazy person telling Billy Crystal what currency is. And I think that was one of the moments where I think I noticed the most about the chemistry not being there really, is because that scene could have played as a little bit better if you felt, the actors sort of being, a little more cohesive in what they were looking for in this movie, in terms of the characters' relationship. But yeah, there's so much in a couple scenes where I think I feel they were part of longer things that they just didn't keep in the movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean there are other scenes where I feel like they just kind of drag on. Like there's so many scenes of Billy Crystal trying to figure out the first line of his book, which I think it's like, all right, we get it.
Yeah.
The scene with Rob Reiner doesn't need to happen.
No, it could have been a phone call.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there are a few scenes that just kind of reiterate things that happened in previous scenes, and just like, all right, let's move it along. And it is it's only 88 minutes though, so we're talking about a 60-minute movie. But again, it is a very small sort of story. I do like the one joke I like. Not that I said, I think it's not a particularly funny movie.
No.
Again, I'm not a Billy Crystal fan either, on the whole. But the one joke I really do like is the payphone joke.
Yes.
Oh, that's my favorite part of the movie.
That is a good part. Yeah.
Where he keeps calling him from different payphones while he's in Hawaii because he doesn't want the cops to trace the phone call. And every time he's in a different location, and it's more and more ridiculous. There's a pineapple shaped payphone. There's one just in the middle of a farm or cornfields with cows, and it's pretty. It's an odd kind of absurdist joke in a movie that's not particularly absurdist, and I think that's another thing where it's like a first time director sort of thing. Which is like, I'm going to take a chance here. Yeah, I'm not very disciplined in terms of that, in terms of like story structure or
Yeah.
things that you can't do. Uh, Available to take chances, essentially, basically with that kind of, because it might not have even been on a script in the script like that. It was just like, oh, you know, what would be funny is if we just had a whole bunch of different payphones and they'd be just ridiculous looking.
Yeah, I could have very much imagined the line in the script is just basically that he calls him multiple times from different payphones because he's worried about the call getting traced, and that's like all it says, like some variation of that. And then, you know, being a first-time director, he's like, oh, I know a way to put a stamp on this scene, and he does the great, as you said, absurdist, you know, up in the ante each time it cuts back to himself. But just doesn't work because the rest of the movie does not have that in it. I think he thinks he has it in it with some of the, like, imagining killing his mother scenes, thinking that feels a little absurdist, but it doesn't come across the same way. But yeah, that scene particularly stands out in the fact that I think that was one of the times when I feel he tried to make a, you know, something that was like more of a, maybe a vision or an idea, as you said, like on the day of, or you know, when they were in pre-production, and just went with it instead of trying to keep it a more standard comedy stuff, as I felt he tried to do with the rest of the movie.
Well, I think that's DeVito's kind of calling card for when he directs. It's a lot of like absurdist type of imagery, and very taking big chances in a way. Like, and you brought up Matilda, right? And there's a lot of larger than life imagery in that movie because it's being viewed as from a child, right? And in this movie, it's just it's an absurd idea that this guy thinks I'll kill, you know, someone's wife because they're gonna kill my mother. So it's a very absurd idea. So he backs it up with the imagery and some of the ideas. The car not being able to brake, that's another one that kind of has this not super absurd, but the way that the car moves around is like quick cuts and everything. So his directing definitely matches his certain like vision, I'll say. And even in, I don't know if you guys have seen War of the Roses, another movie he directed, but it's same thing. A lot of interesting camera shots, camera angles. So he has these ideas in his movies.
Yeah, I mean, Matilda has a lot of like Dutch angles and stuff like that. Really working with that kind of stuff. And this one's got a few scenes where it's all handheld and it's kind of like one take and stuff like that, like in the police station and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So.
I wonder if he got the praise for that one scene in this movie and just was like, all right, this seems to be what everybody likes that I do. I'll make that like my signature, you know, going forward. Or maybe if we watch some of the TV stuff and short films he did before that, maybe he's done that all along.
I think that's just something he picked up. He's always been, and even now, he still has that unique perspective, right? If you look at him as Frank from Always Sunny, he always has a very weird take on life. So yeah, I think that's just what he learned from a younger age as an actor, and just brought it over to his directing.
Yep. I
will say, I think there's a better version of this movie out there, and it's called Horrible Bosses, where the idea to kill someone else's acquaintance is done with better comedic timing, probably a better cast, and just a better overall story. So this was I guess you could say, throw Mama from the train walked so Horrible Bosses could run.
Right. And obviously this is a parody or homage to Strangers on the Train, the Hitchcock movie, but this is the comedic version of that.
Yes. And that's the movie that's playing when DeVito's character's in the theater, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
It's the same idea.
Right. I think they even have the same lines to get rid of motive. What's the term he uses to get rid of?
Get rid of motive and have an alibi sort of deal.
Right. You have to get rid of the motive. You have to eliminate the motive. Thank you.
Yeah.
So that's what it is. So yeah, I didn't realize that, Ant. So
Yep. Yeah, no, it's the same premise. So a guy meets like strangers on a train, and one guy talks to another guy, and I think it's like one guy's dad and the other guy's wife or something like that. And the guy goes ahead and kills, I think, the guy's wife, even though they haven't agreed to anything. And it's like, well, okay, well now you have to keep up your end of the bargain. So when are you going to do it? I think it winds up ending on Statue of Liberty, or
like Spider-Man No Way Home.
Or Carousel.
Right? That's ripped directly from Spider-Man
Yeah.
No Way Home. I think I wish there's something missing from this movie that would have made it better, and I don't know what it is. I don't know if maybe replacing Billy Crystal with someone else, like a Robin Williams, could have probably made this movie like matching that eccentric feel.
I think that might have been too much chaotic energy with Robin Williams and Danny DeVito. I think Billy Crystal is the right replacement in this. You just need a better straight man.
Well, I'll have you know that the two people that were considered for these roles, Bill Murray was considered for the role of Larry Donner, and Robin Williams for the role of Owen.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, that would have been a better movie, obviously, but them too, because I think Bill Murray can pull off what Billy Crystal's trying to do in this movie better.
Yeah, I would imagine he's just an overall better actor as is.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wanted to go along for the ride on this movie. I did. There were parts where it piqued my interest. I too wanted to throw the mom from the train.
Speaking of which, what did you think of Anne Ramsay's performance in this? Oscar-nominated performance in this.
Yeah, I saw that on the IMDb. She definitely gets the point across. Like, she is a woman that you immediately want to murder. And I completely understood where Danny DeVito's character was coming from. And even the little nuances she's throwing in there, she like drooling, she's spitting angry.
Yeah.
She is incoherent most of the movie. I couldn't understand a word she was saying at times. I wish they would have played up. I thought they were going to play up the idea that she's crazy because she's old, and that's something they do at the end of the movie, right? Like Billy Crystal's like, oh, she's a little over medicated while she's screaming, "There's a murderer on the train."
Yeah.
I think that would have been interesting if there's the scene where Crystal is hiding in the pantry and DeVito is talking to the cops because the cops are looking for Billy Crystal's character.
Yeah.
I think it would have been better if the mother was trying to explain to the cops what was going on, but she sounds like a lunatic. So like, she's 90 years old. Like, oh, there's a murderer here. There's a murderer here. Like, oh, whatever you say, man, blah, blah, blah. But, she definitely deserved to be recognized for this performance.
Yeah, she was really good in it. I think they could have had. I think Anne had said this earlier. You could have played a better movie with it just being mostly focused on her character and this whole thing. I don't know. Sometimes the asides with Kate Mulgrew and the being just on screen. That whole side with Billy Crystal where you didn't. Basically you're getting one side of the story, so I don't really know whether I should hate that character or if he's the asshole, from this, at least with the Danny DeVito, Anne Ramsay situation, who, is the one that people would want to murder in that situation. So maybe the better thing is that, he's a teacher at a college and he's this murder writer and he's trying to figure out a way to kill his mother without getting caught, sort of thing, and not even have the Kate Mulgrew, wife stuff in there, because it brings to the most irrelevant, I think, relationship in the movie, which is him and Beth. In it, it's just there so that he could, I guess, have someone to run to, or sort of like to leave that voicemail, just somebody to do things to further the plot more than being any kind of real relationship. Yeah, I just think as much as this is a 88-minute, 90-minute movie, it's I feel it could have been more focused and probably been a better movie because of it. And I think that's why they recognized, Anne Ramsay for her performance being the main standout here.
Mm-hmm. Is Beth sexually attracted to trains?
Sure seems like it.
God damn it, Aunt! I was taking a drink.
Or
because she wants to get fucked on the kitty train, and then she's getting, it's a PG-13 movie, so they don't explicitly say, but she is getting fingered while she's reading the little engine that could.
I didn't pick up on that.
Yeah.
I mean,
man.
you can't see his hands in the scene.
That's true. And she is speaking quite sensually,
Mhm.
right? Like she's like breathy, very breathy. So, well, yeah, Billy Crystal was giving her the the old tickle.
She wants a train run on her.
Yeah.
That's why she didn't object to Danny DeVito showing up in that scene.
Yeah, she was just like, let's see where this goes.
Oh, you invited a friend. Listen, go ahead, Mark.
I was going to say the twist could have been her ending up with Danny DeVito because of his love of trains.
Right. He just gets me. I'm going to go out on. I don't think this is going out on a limb, actually, or as much of a hot take as I would imagine it is. But Kim Greist she's kind of a smoke show in this movie. When she's wearing that swimsuit, a little blood flow. I'm not going to say full, but
chopped up a little bit.
Yeah, half, a little halfer. I don't know if that's a compliment or disgusting, but probably the latter.
Okay. So, Throw Mama from the Train from 1987, it's directed by Danny DeVito, who's also directed The War of the Roses, Hoffa, Matilda, Death to Smoochie, and Duplex. Stars Billy Crystal, Danny DeVito, Anne Ramsay, Kim Greist, Kate Mulgrew, Branford Marsalis, and Rob Reiner. IMDb score of 6.3, Rotten Tomato score of 64%. Budget $14 million. Box office $57.9 million.
It was a hit.
It was a hit. Yeah. I guess these guys were in the prime of their careers, so, not far from Twins, I suppose, and Billy Crystal. City Slickers is coming up soon, so.
That's another movie that he starred in that won an Oscar, right? Didn't Bruce Valanche win?
Not.
What's his name?
You mean Jack Palance?
Jack Palance.
I want you to look up. I want you to look up Bruce Valanche.
All right, hold on. Let me do that. Bruce, all right, Valanche. Way off.
This is the moment where I wish we were a video podcast.
Yeah.
Oh, listen, they got the same hair. Where did I guess Palance and Valanche, they're short. Again,
Not particularly close.
This is somewhat close. They both start with a V. Or no, they don't. What am I talking about? I'm out of control right now.
And he was 2 years out of When Harry Met Sally was 89, so it was kind of their heyday. So box office smash for these guys. Oh, Princess Bride was the same year. I thought Princess Bride was earlier.
And Billy Crystal was in that, right?
Yep. Oh yeah, he was Running Scared was 86.
Yeah, this was prime Billy Crystal, like the end of prime Billy.
I would say the beginning, really.
Beginning?
Yeah, because Princess Bride and this was at 87. This was right after Running Scared, which is 86.
Okay, for some reason I thought this led into City Slickers.
And
Harry Met Sally was 89. 91 was City Slickers. We have Mr. Saturday Night, City Slickers 2, Forget Paris. Yeah. And then Father's Day. Father's Day is kind of the end, and that's already 97.
And Rob Reiner directed Princess Bride. Rob Reiner is in this movie. So, yeah, there's connections.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm surprised. I was reading Crystal and DeVito didn't work together again until 2016.
Oh.
I guess. I don't know if they were close. I guess not.
I guess not. Maybe that's the reason why they didn't have good chemistry.
Yeah. Did you feel the same way? Maybe it's just me. Mark, you kind of admit you said the same thing.
I didn't really think much of it. I thought they were fine.
Okay.
Yeah. You guys want to get into the plot?
Yeah, let's do it.
Sure.
All right, Dan, what do you got for us?
I want to give two quick shout outs to two friends of the podcast, the Game Vault podcast and the Top 10 with Tia. The Game Vault podcast is a bi-weekly podcast, comes out every other Monday. It's a video game podcast where our good friend Mark of They Called This a Movie and two of our other friends discuss video game news, what they've been playing and their retro roulette game of the week. So that's old school games ranging from the Nintendo Entertainment System all the way to the PlayStation, Xbox, you name it. They are going to play it. It's a lot of fun, so go check them out. They also stream on Twitch at Game Vault Pod. You can also follow them on all their socials at Game Vault Pod. So Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, it's all there. And the Top 10 with Tia is a weekly podcast where good friend of the podcast, Tia, and her friend Brittany discuss their top 10 list of the week. So if you want to check that out, if you're interested in that, go to geekvibesnation.com, search Top 10 with Tia, and go give it a listen.
Okay, great. And we're going to take a quick break, and you guys are going to listen to messages from friends of the podcast. So we will be right back.
Hey everyone, this is Steve.
And this is Adam.
And we're part of the Hop Nation USA podcast,
Pittsburgh's #3 craft beer podcast.
Join us every Friday for new beer reviews.
We'll talk about the news, history, and homebrewing.
Plus, we'll sit down with the best brewers and industry personalities that'll have us.
So whether you're a casual drinker, a hazy boy hophead,
or even if you're a whale hunting cellar hoarder,
just search Hop Nation USA on Apple, Spotify, or your favorite podcatcher and join the nation.
Oh, hi, didn't see you there. It's me, George, from the best little horror house in Philly, the show where we talk about the best horror movie ever made, according to our guest at least. We've talked about groundbreaking classics like Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Alien, but we've also got a lot of great ones coming up, including some very fun guests like Len Kabaczynski of Swamp Zombies and Red Letter Media fame, Caroline Williams, the star of Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, and Chase Williamson from John Dies at the End. So make sure you're subscribed to the best little horror house in Philly, and I'll see you boils and ghouls over there.
And welcome back. Now it's time to get in the plot for Throw Momma from the Train. We open on Billy Crystal as he sits at a typewriter, struggling to put anything down more than the words, "The night was."
I felt this in my heart as someone that used to have to write articles as a journalist. Just that pacing back and forth in front of the computer, not typewriter in my case. But yeah, that whole constantly deleting things. I was just like, yep, that's exactly. I felt that.
I don't like that trope in movies where it's always writer's block. There's never a writer who just bangs out whatever they're writing.
Sure.
Like,
yeah.
Right. Or if they are a successful writer, they have writer's block. I always like to see the opposite. Try the opposite for a change.
Yeah, I would say that some tropes are true. This one. The way he reacts to having it is true, but I think in a lot of movies, the actual writer's block for dramatic effect, obviously, since it's a movie, gets blown out of proportion a little bit. To that, the whole while he's in the bathroom brushing his teeth or whatever he's doing, still having it. Normally, when I walk away from the computer, if I was writing anything, I would try to forget about what I was writing to see if that would help. But obviously, being a movie, they want to keep drilling that home. But at least this opening part, before it becomes too dramatic, is absolutely true. That just, typing the line and writing goes, that's shit. It's sort of, you feel that as if you've ever tried to write something. Excuse me.
Yeah, sure. Well, because a writer wrote this movie, so a writer is going to make writer's block seem like the most terrible thing that could be afflicted upon somebody.
And they talk about there's a difference between an artist and an author in this movie. I don't is that supposed to be is that a thing? Are authors not known as artists?
Well, basically Rob Reiner says like he gave him a whole bunch of projects that maybe aren't like highbrow art projects that he could be writing, but it's going to pay the fucking bills, right? Because Rob Reiner, his life depends on Billy Crystal getting jobs because he's his agent, right?
Right.
So, and Billy Crystal just had too much integrity for that stuff, basically.
Oh, okay. So he's making fun of the idea of the artist thing.
Yeah.
You hold yourself to this high of a standard for no reason.
Yeah. Basically, I just want you to take jobs that are going to get us both paid, and you were too good for them. He wants them to sell out, which I get.
Yeah.
because everything's too damned expensive, as we were talking about off air.
Right. Yeah, it's you got to pay for things one way or the other. So I get that. That makes more sense now. I thought he was just mocking him for calling himself an artist.
No, just saying, sure, you're an artist, but here's this job that's going to pay you 50 grand or something like that, and easy money.
Right.
But
Okay.
you're not taking it because you think you're you're on the precipice of the great American novel.
Makes more sense now.
Yeah. Billy Crystal's name is Larry, and he does everything but write. Frustrated with his writer's block, he turns on his TV to see his ex-wife Margaret, played by Kate Mulgrew, on Oprah, talking about her new book, which is the most popular book in the world, Hot Fire, which is a terrible title for a book.
Yeah. What was that? Awful name.
I felt like that the name being terrible was just like a sort of a inside joke thing amongst his Aunt said being, a writer wrote this movie as this girl got famous off of something with such a terrible title, and that would infuriate Billy Crystal's character even more.
I don't know if this was done on purpose. I guess so, but I really wanted to find out if the ex-wife actually stole his novel or not.
Right.
I would have loved to have found that out.
Because there seems to be some legal repercussions if that's true, right? That's the one thing I was thinking. I was like, well, then take her to court.
Right. So we don't have the unreliable narrator in this movie. Because I thought maybe that's where they were going to go with it. He's the unreliable narrator. She stole my novel. She stole my novel. She stole my novel. And he's trying to come up with excuses as to how that happened. And I can prove it. I can prove it. But it's just every turn, it's bullshit.
Yeah. Because the way he says it, that she stole it, he makes it sound like he had his memoir, his manuscript sitting on the desk, and she literally took it and ran to the nearest publisher. That's how he makes it sound.
Like just took the front page, put her name on it.
Yeah.
Well, probably legitimately she would have to do this if it actually happened. She'd have to retype the front page. But the way he makes it sound, she just literally whited out his name on the front page and wrote it in pen.
Right.
And then took it to a publisher.
And it would be a great callback because at the end we think something similar not to jump to the end, but something similar happens, and it would just be a good callback, right? Where he has it on the desk, as Mark, you were saying, he has the manuscript on the desk, and something happens, someone takes it, and now we know for sure, it definitely happened that way.
Right. Larry shouts at his television, claiming that Margaret stole his book and passed it off as her own. At some point, his neighbor Lester walks in to borrow a shirt, and Lester is barely of any consequence to the scene nor the movie in general.
Or the movie.
Watching the same Oprah episode as Anne Ramsay in her house across town as she shouts for her son Owen to get her a Pepsi because she's choking on unsalted peanuts. Owen meekly complies, but fantasizes about poisoning his mother, even going so far as to actually poisoning her drink before slapping it out of her hand before she could drink it. And then he has to sheepishly pick up the broken glass as his mother tosses insults at him.
Is Owen an incel?
Oh yeah, he's never had sex. She even says he'll never get to first base.
Oh, does she say that?
She says it in the bathroom scene when he envisions himself stabbing her in the head with the scissors.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
Yeah. Yeah, he's definitely an incel.
Yeah, he definitely comes across that way.
Right. He also seems kind of slow, slow-witted, sort of his character from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
In the description of the movie, at least for HBO Max, it says Billy Crystal's character befriends a dim bulb in Owen. So I think that was the nicer way, or not even the nicer way. A dim bulb, that's...
Yeah.
I guess it's the next step above the harsh way to say it, right?
Yeah.
So I think they were definitely going for that, him being on the slower side.
Mm-hmm. And that scene, the coin collection scene, makes him seem like he is like an infant,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they didn't go as far as like a Lenny from Of Mice and Men.
Yeah.
But it was along the same, I guess, path.
Yeah, and the main example of what you're talking about is having him lay on the floor and show it off.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's also a scene where he's playing with a train set again with the trains.
Yeah, for a movie called Throw Mama from the Train, trains don't really have that big of an impact until the end of the movie.
Yeah.
But they're present, but they don't mean anything really.
Yeah. It's an ongoing theme.
Yes.
But what it means, I don't know.
No idea. I think Danny DeVito was in his train phase.
Maybe. So sometimes I'm just like, I feel like there's symbolism and I don't get it. Maybe it's just symbolism that he was mad.
Right. I think, maybe you try to look too far, and not you in general, like you, Anthony, but you as in
The viewer.
You try to look into some movies where there's really not much to see other than just what the director's putting on there.
Mm-hmm. Owen then goes to the local college where he's taking an adult education course of fiction writing being taught by Larry. We hear some other students' writings, including a woman that wrote an action story set on a submarine, though she doesn't know a thing about submarines. And a guy that's basically just lists a bunch of women he wants to fuck, which is one of the worst overdubs I've seen in a while.
I wanted to make sure that I wasn't crazy because he says pork. The pork comes through, but they say fuck, right?
Yeah, Billy Crystal mouths fuck.
Yes,
because I've watched this twice and I did rewind it to make sure. But yeah, it says pork, and I think they try and play it off that the guy says pork, like the writer says pork over Billy Crystal, because it doesn't sound like Billy Crystal when he says pork, but he 100% says fuck.
So what's worse, the Book of Women I Want to Pork, or Yippee-ki-yay, Mr. Falcon?
That's pretty cool. Yeah. It seemed like it was just like it wasn't even literature, it was just a list. Because I'd be interested to read what he had to write about each woman.
We should contact Tia and have her do her top 10 list of women they want to pork.
That guy wants to pork.
Women that guy wanted to pork. Kathleen Turner.
I like in that scene, other students kind of give him it's not a bad addition to the list.
Is Kathleen Turner, Sybil Shepherd.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty good. It's a good list.
That's a good, yeah. The girl from 4B, I think he's.
Yeah, that was my favorite one.
And the Asian girl from the Asian Laker girl.
Oh yes.
He does not say Asian though.
Yeah. This is the taco girl from the commercials.
Oh, the girl from the taco commercial.
Yeah. And the Asian Laker girl. Very strange. That list needs to be updated for 2023.
Who would be on it?
Oh boy. Margot Robbie.
Yeah, like who's like the Kathleen Turner of now? 1987 Kathleen Turner, because it does go downhill.
Margot Robbie's not a bad one, time and age wise.
No, she's always solid.
I guess Kathleen Turner was just in War of the Roses, right?
Yeah.
Before this or around the time,
which makes sense because that's a Danny DeVito directed movie.
I mean, it would have obviously been the girl from 3C now.
3C.
Yeah.
I don't want to. The list would go on forever with me. I would just start rattling off women.
1989 was when War of the Roses. So it actually hadn't come out yet. So that was still 2 years away. Who Framed Roger Rabbit wasn't even out yet.
Which is, that's interesting. Because the tunnel that they drive through is the same tunnel that's used in Back to the Future and Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, it's almost like those films were filmed in LA.
Mm-hmm.
You don't say.
I guess she was in Romancing the Stone, Jewel of the Nile at this point. Pritzi's Honor.
And that's Michael Douglas, right?
Yeah.
So, and he was also in War of the Roses.
Yep.
It's all coming together, guys.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Danny DeVito was in those movies too. At least one of them. At least Jewel of the Nile.
I think, I don't want to say for sure, but I'm pretty sure Michael Douglas and Danny DeVito were roommates in college.
Okay.
So that
sounds familiar because Michael Douglas executive produced One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
There you go.
Which Danny DeVito was in.
So we're going to say that's fact.
Yep. Put it down. Put it on the board. Meanwhile, Owen tries to sneak his story to the top of the stack, so Larry reads it next, but Larry passes on it, and then class is dismissed. Later, Larry's at the dry cleaners as it pours outside, and Owen approaches him and asks him if he read his story and what he thought of it. Larry said that he didn't like it because it was a 3-page murder mystery with only 2 people in it, one of which was dead. At home, Larry calls his girlfriend Beth and he gets her answering machine. Apparently, he missed a date with her, but then goes back to trying to write, and still he struggles over the very first sentence, trying to figure out what that night was. What was he doing? He just up and just forgot about the date.
He was obsessing over the ex-wife, wasn't he?
I guess so.
He lost track of time.
There's large swaths of that day where we don't see. Like,
Yeah.
he goes from the school to the laundromat, and nothing in between.
Yeah, I guess it's what they're trying to show is that seeing his ex-wife just ruined his day. Right? That's all he could think about.
Yeah.
I could use a little montage of like him seeing her in other media, like goes to the newsstand and sees a whole bunch of magazines with her face on it. You know,
Someone reading the book.
Yeah.
Right? Like at the bus stop or something like that. I don't know why
Yeah.
at the bus stop, but or the gas station.
Yeah.
That would have been interesting. Also, I thought of something I really would have liked to have this movie do, but I don't know if I want to say it now or towards the end, because I don't want to just keep derailing
Sure.
everything. But I have this idea I want to share at the end.
Okay. Meanwhile, Owen argues with his mother about what he is writing. She's accusing him of writing a letter to a girl, but Owen says he's just writing a story. When she asks him to help her get something out of her ear, he imagines stabbing her in the ear with a pair of scissors. Next day, Larry meets with Beth at the school cafeteria and apologizes, but then his students watching, and one of them mentions he saw his ex-wife on TV. Larry has a bit of a meltdown, scares Beth off, even maybe inadvertently calling Beth a slut when he meant his wife. In class, everyone applauds an old man's story about finding love in an upholstery store. Then Larry goes to read Owen's story and starts with the same exact line that he has been obsessing over in his own story. So he immediately dismisses the class and goes home to try and write.
That's never explained, is it?
No.
Okay.
But again, he cannot write. The words aren't coming to him. So he sits down to read Owen's story, and we find out that Owen has actually followed Larry home and is waiting outside for him. Later in the night, Larry leaves his apartment and goes to meet Beth in a park. They talk over his frustrations while sitting in a child's train. They start making out and getting ready to fuck on the kitty train, but Owen is sitting behind them and crunches a chip, interrupting them right before coitus. He asks Larry if he read his story, and Larry tells him he cannot keep following him around. So Owen goes to leave and then asks if he liked the story, and Larry says no. Then later, Owen calls Larry late at night, asking why he didn't like his story. So they meet up somewhere, and Larry tells him things wrong about the story. There isn't enough motivation for his character to commit murder, and he needs to figure out a way to give his character an alibi. Then Larry tells him to go watch a Hitchcock movie, and he leaves. So Owen goes to the movies to see strangers on a train. And for those who don't know, the central plot of Strangers on a Train is that 2 strangers meet on a train. Get it?
Yep.
And one of them devises a plan that the perfect murder would be that 2 people that have never met each other before, would kill a person in the other's life that they'd like to see dead, which is more or less the plot of this movie. So Owen gets an idea. And he calls Larry while Larry is in bed fingering Beth while she reads The Little Engine That Could. And Owen says that, as one does, you got to warm up that motor. And what better way than a coal-fired train trying to go up a hill?
I bet you'll never look at that book the same way again.
Yeah. It's all a euphemism for a man trying to find the clitoris. That's what I've learned.
Is that what The Little Engine That Could... It makes sense.
I think I can.
Yeah, that's a good point. Now, we have to spread this to the masses.
Look, I mean, you could find readings of anything meaning anything, and why can't this be about that?
And that's
could also
why...
be about a man wanting to last longer.
That's true.
It's true.
I think that's why they're artists, right? You can interpret it any way you want.
No one says he now realizes what Larry was trying to tell him when he told him to go see a Hitchcock movie. Larry doesn't understand what he's saying, so he blows Owen off. The next day, Larry goes to his agent Rob Reiner's house tells him he's dropping him as a client because Larry hasn't written anything in 7 years, hasn't booked a writing gig because of his quote-unquote integrity. Gives him a bottle of alcohol as a parting gift, and Larry takes it to the beach to get drunk at night. Meanwhile, Owen has flown to Hawaii and sneaks inside Larry's ex-wife's house in order to murder her. Somehow manages to sneak up on her without really doing much in the way of hiding, but he's thwarted by her Hispanic lover boy coming back from the beach, and they start cavorting on the couch. Same couch which Owen is hiding behind.
That scene made me laugh a little bit when he moves the telephone a little closer for her.
Right. Yeah.
While it's ringing. That was pretty funny.
Through the necking, the lover boy won't stop barking because she calls him her little chihuahua, which is offensive.
Yeah. It's very grating.
Yeah.
It's not
Oh, because he doesn't stop.
Yeah, the entire time.
Yeah.
Even on the phone, he just keeps going and going and going.
Maybe that's why she likes him.
You know, I thought it was because he lays the pipe well, but maybe that is.
Well, because he keeps going and going.
He keeps going and going. Yeah.
Mhm.
But the phone rings and it turns out it's her agent to call her to remind her of a book signing. And then she drops her phone and they continue to fuck the She continues to fuck the gardener. Later, Owen is making a sandwich in her house when she drives away, and he just like he allows himself to just make a sandwich in her kitchen. And he scrambles to follow her. Follows her to a boat heading to Maui. He tries to start up a conversation with her, but she blows him off. So then he goes to the deck to feel the wind in her hair, and Owen starts putting on some black strangling gloves to start to approach her. As he starts to sneak up on her, she drops an earring over the side, so she leans over to try and reach it, and Owen now has designs to push her off. Then we cut away. We then cut to Larry drunk on the beach, trying to come up with his first line of a book. In the morning, he wakes up, the car won't start, so he walks home. He sleeps through his class and wakes up to his phone ringing, and it's Owen saying he's in Hawaii and the job is done. He then does this on a series of ridiculous payphones so the cops don't trace the phone call. Larry is confused until Owen comes right and says that he killed his wife, and then he hangs up the phone. I like that joke too. He's like, I don't want to say it over the phone, but I killed your wife. And Larry doesn't believe it at first. He says it can't be. So then he calls his ex-wife, and she doesn't answer. Larry then realizes that he doesn't have an alibi because he spent all night on the beach by himself, so he runs downstairs and barges into Lester's apartment, and Lester is currently in bed with a flight attendant. Larry tries to tell Lester that he was with him all night, and then convinces himself that he couldn't fly out to Hawaii and commit a murder, and then come back all the way home in time. But the flight attendant plots out exactly how he could do it, so this freaks out Larry even more, and he says that he needs to go talk to Beth. So he borrows Lester's car and drives off. And that's why Lester's in this movie, because of the car.
Here's the car. Yeah.
Yep.
But Larry had a car. It didn't need to not work.
Yeah.
In the car, he hears a news report about his ex-wife's disappearance, and he freaks out even more. Goes to Beth's house, and he tells her that his ex-wife is dead, and he may have inadvertently sent the guy to go kill her. So she throws him out because he basically admits he's responsible for his wife's death. After he leaves, Beth calls him and leaves an incriminating call on the answering machine, and it turns out that the cops are at his house at that very moment listening. Larry picks up Owen at the bus station, and Owen shows him his ex-wife's earring as proof that he killed her. He then gets into the car, and they start talking. Larry says that he needs to turn himself in, and Owen says that this was part of the plan, and now Larry has to hold up his end of the bargain by killing his mama. And if he doesn't, he says he's going to tell the cops that Larry killed his ex-wife. Then Larry starts speeding until Owen says he'll tell the cops he killed her. So he does, but when Larry tries to slow down, the brakes give out and he can't slow down. The car starts going out of control into oncoming traffic, down a hill and through a tunnel. They almost run headfirst into an 18-wheeler. Eventually they crash into a tree and the car comes to a stop. Cops bring Lester in as the owner of the car. They start questioning him. He says he hasn't seen Larry since he borrowed the car, but he says that he doesn't think Larry killed her because Larry doesn't do anything. He's very meek and...
That's such a great line. Well, why didn't he? Because he doesn't do anything.
Yeah. Can't even write his first sentence.
Yeah.
Owen brings Larry home and cooks him breakfast and tells him maybe he'll want to kill his mom once he meets her. She comes stomping into the room and Owen says that Larry is their cousin Patty, and Mama immediately knows that they don't have a cousin Patty, so Owen calls Larry a liar and then hits him in the head with a frying pan.
I didn't get that. Why would you lie if you're Danny DeVito? Why not just say, oh, he's my friend?
She'll be like, you don't have any friends.
Well, clearly I do. He's here. he's sitting right next to me. It's better than saying it's cousin Patty.
Yeah.
And I think that would have played up better if she was crazy, right?
Yeah, because he basically says she makes him nervous, and that's why he does it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's a good answer, Dan.
I'm
it's
like,
an answer.
I didn't realize he said that, honestly.
Yeah, I had the really
just nerves.
I had the really fucked up subtitles on here, which went vertical for some reason at times.
Yeah, and they were just outright wrong sometimes.
Yeah.
She leaves, and then Ellen brings Larry into the den and gives him an ice pack. Ellen then shows Larry his coin collection, which aren't valuable by any means, but they're all change that his dad let him keep when he was a kid. And his mom screams from the other room and starts ordering him around for a breakfast order. Owen then says he's going to kill her himself if Larry won't. And he goes to do it by choking her with the belt, but Larry stops him and says that he'll do it. So Owen says that he'll give Larry a belt buckle from a souvenir gift shop from the London Bridge in Arizona. It's another one of those details which don't mean anything.
I thought that was going to play a significant part at one point, because the music is swelling when he's handing him that buckle.
Mm-hmm.
I like, oh, maybe that's going to be used as evidence because he's, Billy Crystal's touching it.
Right.
So like, oh, he's going to use that to like plant, he's going to plant that on somewhere on the mother, and he's going to rat Billy Crystal out. But no, it's never. I don't think it comes back into the movie at all.
No, I think it's just there to show that like Owen is awkward with social cues.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, you're gonna kill my mom. By the way, here's this belt buckle. Did you know the London Bridge was moved from London to Arizona brick by brick?
It's very sloppy, right? They used that character trait a couple times, but then as the movie goes on, they go further away from that character trait.
Yeah, he shows that he could be conniving too.
Yes, right, because he at one point he's like, "Oh, I'm going to say that I'm at the bowling alley," and he goes to the bowling alley, but not the first time.
Yeah,
right. So he is conniving.
Yeah, I mean he put Larry's name on the ticket to Hawaii.
That's true. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah. So the cops bring Beth in and start interrogating her, and she says that he didn't, quote unquote, really hire someone to kill his wife. And they interrogate his class, and they all relay the scene from the cafeteria when he said he wished his wife was dead. Meanwhile, Owen puts his mom to bed and tries to set up Larry to kill his mom. He tells Larry to go out the window and sneak into hers so that it looks like a burglary. Then he shoves him out the window and closes it. And Larry starts making his way over, but he sees a rat and retreats back to the other window. Owen begs Larry to suffocate Momma with a pillow and then leaves the house to go bowling that evening so he could have an alibi for himself. Owen's absence, Larry searches for evidence he could use to incriminate Owen. However, he discovers that Owen purchased an airline ticket to Hawaii under Larry's name. He's about to leave the house when the cops come, and Owen shows up too, and they start to question Owen about Larry's whereabouts. And Owen is disappointed to find Momma still alive and Larry hiding in the pantry. Toys with the idea of turning Larry over to the cops, but does not go through with it and sends the police on their way. Later, Owen reprimands Larry for his inaction. Owen sets up a trap for his mother to fall down a flight of stairs while he goes out bowling again the following night, but Larry falls down the stairs instead. Hours later, he regains consciousness and finds Owen trying to kill Momma by blasting a loud horn in her ear, but Momma awakens irritable as ever and claiming that Louis Armstrong was trying to kill her.
Oh, she calls Billy Crystal a black man, doesn't she, at one point?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
which was weird.
Yeah. So is she crazy or is she not crazy?
I don't know. Maybe she thought he was Jewish and people of minorities are all the same to her. I don't know.
Did she think that Billy Crystal is Sammy Davis Jr.?
Which is funny because he played Sammy Davis Jr. He pretended to be Sammy Davis Jr. on Saturday Night Live.
There you go. Is it she doesn't.
Maybe it's a callback.
Yeah, I don't know, honestly.
Maybe she's just racist.
I think that's probably more along the lines, right?
Yeah.
As she sees Larry and hits him in the crotch with her cane. The next morning, Momma sees a television news report identifying Larry as the prime suspect in Margaret's disappearance. She threatens to call the police and Larry flees. He boards a train to Mexico, and Owen and Momma follow, and the three ride in a train car together. Larry tells Owen he has resolved himself to turn himself into this turn of events. He believes he has a great ending to a new story based on his and Owen's ordeal, but he wonders how to begin and asks which opening line is better. The night was humid, the night was moist. Momma stares matter of fact, then should be the night was sultry. Finally, driven to kill her, Larry chases Momma through the train. When she reaches the caboose, she loses her balance and falls out. Larry tries to rescue her. Having had a change of heart, Owen arrives and helps Larry pull Momma to safety. Momma praises Owen but kicks Larry off the train.
This is where, in my opinion, it gets very sloppy.
Mm-hmm.
Out of nowhere, Billy Crystal decides he wants to kill the mother, and then on a dime decides he doesn't want to kill the mother.
Well, I think the original thing just comes from, I guess, maybe a little bit of his narcissism where someone else had a better idea than him. Because that's basically what he portrays as the teacher, that he has all the great ideas, and then she presents an idea that's better than his. So that's when he wants to kill him, and then when it actually gets to the fact of she's right there to be killed, he just can't do it because, as his neighbor said, he just doesn't do anything ever.
He just doesn't follow through.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 100%. And the problem is that the line is terrible regardless of what the end of it is.
Sure. Yeah, the night is
It's a
sultry.
cliche.
What does that mean?
It's like, it was a dark and stormy night. Why don't you just put that? You
Right.
hack.
You.
I think it's just it doesn't land for me at least.
Larry recuperates from the fall in a hospital with a broken leg, where he turns on the television and sees Margaret alive and well and being interviewed. She tells the news reporter that she fell overboard when reaching for her diamond earring and was rescued by a Polynesian fisherman she now plans to marry. She's also already sold film rights to her story for $1.5 million. And that night, Larry has nightmares about killing Margaret. He wakes up inspired and begins to write. Cut to 1 year later, Owen reunites with Larry at his apartment, claiming that Momma died a few months ago. He's now free of her. Larry has just finished the manuscript for his new novel, Throw Momma from the Train, based on experiences with Owen and Momma. Owen informs Larry that he recently sold a book about the same thing, titled Momma and Owen's friend Larry. Believing that his book idea has once again been stolen by another writer, Larry strangles Owen. However, he stops short when Owen produces a copy of the book, which is a children's book with pop-up illustrations. The final chapter shows Larry, Owen, and Beth taking a trip to Hawaii together. And sometime later, Larry's book has been published. Beth praises it as she, Larry, and Owen relax on a tropical beach. Owen and Beth question the last line of the book, which is an ambiguous bit of philosophy about love and sanity. While Larry complains that Owen's opinion isn't valid, they all go snorkeling. And that is the end of Throw Momma from the Train.
How crazy would it have been if Billy Crystal actually murders Danny DeVito's character and then finds out it's a pop-up book that had nothing to do with his book? So the entire time, right, he's being told that he never does anything. He finally does two things. He completes two things, but now he threw his life away.
Yeah. It'd be like The Mist. The end of The Mist.
But better.
Yeah. It's fine. It's kind of like a B-level 80s comedy, I suppose. Maybe even C-level. Like, it's not bad, but it's not particularly funny. It's not that dark either, really. It feels like it wants to be a dark comedy. It's not that dark. So it's kind of like this weird mid-range, a bit of everything.
Yeah. Unfocused.
Yeah. It's like just kind of a medium effort. Go watch Matilda, though. Matilda's great.
Yeah, everyone does a good job in that movie. I wanted to say earlier, I had two ideas for like a way that I would have liked to have seen the movie go, two directions. One of them is the reason why Crystal doesn't read DeVito's story is because it's better than anything he's ever written. So he feels like he's been wronged because the ex-wife stole his novel. So now he's going to steal someone else's novel.
Sure.
And from there, I'm not sure how the mother would play into it, but I like that idea that Crystal feels wronged, and now he's going to get revenge on some unknowing person in his class, and like maybe try to gaslight Danny DeVito. Like, oh, like, you know, Owen, you don't want this story. It's not a good story. There's no motivation here, blah, blah, blah. And like really go after him that way. Or the second thing I would like to have seen is like a mouse hunt type of movie with trying to kill Owen's mother, where they set up all these elaborate traps and the mother just keeps avoiding them by sheer luck. And Billy Crystal and Danny DeVito are the ones who kind of fall into these said traps.
Yeah. Honestly, that's sort of the movie I remembered it being. It was a little more like that, but obviously the mind does crazy things after 30 some odd years of watching a movie.
The Mandela effect.
Yeah, right.
Because they have the scene where they set up the fake door, right? The door's on off the hinges.
Yeah.
So like, okay, yeah, you got that, but that's the only time.
Yep. But that is Throw Momma from the Train. And we got one more segment coming up. But before we do, we're going to take a quick break, and you guys are going to listen to messages. You guys are going to listen to some ads, so pay those bills. And we will be right back. And welcome back. And now it's time for our third segment, which we're going to call Who's Shorter? I have paired off 10 actors, so 5 segments each, and you have to tell me which one of these people is shorter. Pretty simple. Our first one is Danny DeVito, the actor from Throw Momma from the Train, or Elliot Page.
Mark, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go Danny DeVito, because pretty sure he's under 5 foot, and he is barely over 5 foot in terms of value.
Yeah, I think in my universe, there's no one shorter than Danny DeVito. So
Well,
yeah,
Warwick Davis, but
no, Danny DeVito. Always. That is always the answer. I'm gonna go Danny DeVito as well.
All right, yep, it's Danny DeVito. He's 4'10", and Elliot Page is 5'1".
Oh, okay, it's close.
Yeah. All right. So next one is Joe Pesci or
Ooh.
Kevin Hart.
Ooh. I feel like it's Kevin Hart.
No, yeah, I'm gonna say Pesci.
It is Kevin Hart by 1 inch. Joe Pesci
Wow.
is 5'3", and Kevin Hart is 5'2".
Nice.
I didn't think they were that close, but
I know everyone. I know The Rock makes fun of Kevin Hart a lot. I didn't think he was that short.
Yeah, right.
well, The Rock is
5'2".
probably a lot taller than you think he is too.
What was he, like 6'3"?
I think he's like 6'5".
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Something like that.
So you're right. He is taller than I thought.
Yeah, because a lot of those wrestlers, because they wrestle each other, they're
Yeah, they're
taller
all
than.
big.
Yeah, they're the ones that look short aren't actually that short. Like
Right.
Shawn Michaels, I don't think he's close to not being a short king.
I want to say Shawn Michaels on record is like 6 feet or 6'1".
Yeah,
Oh, so
Yeah.
he just passes.
yeah, but he looks small because of everybody else is 6'4" or above.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That
And
makes
Bret
sense.
Hart was like 6 even. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
although it says peak height for Shawn Michaels was 5'11".
Oh,
Yeah, that's why I say just bare. It's like, but he looks so much shorter.
Yeah. He also looks like shit.
well, now, yeah.
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 I don't think he's the HBK we know and love.
No. Also, the all of the wrestlers' heights are questions.
Oh yeah, there's only a couple that are legitimate,
Yeah.
and they are because they were actually measured at like some kind of sporting combine.
Right.
I think Lesnar's height's
Goldberg.
legit. Yeah, Lesnar's height's legit. That what's his name? The big guy the new big guy that wrestled Lesnar at WrestleMania. He's a legit his height because he got measured coming out of because he got measured coming out of college. Because he played college basketball at South Florida.
Gotcha.
So
Yeah.
but the rest of them, yeah, Undertaker's not 7 foot.
Yeah,
You know.
this website is claiming that Undertaker is only 6'6".
Yeah, and the and I don't think the Big Show is 7'4". I think he was like 7 foot because I think he played college basketball too.
Yeah.
But yeah, those heights, they make it like legitimate. You don't know what they are, and some people look so much smaller because the other ones are so much taller, and it's why even actors are tough.
Yeah.
We know most of them are probably short, but as like Kevin Hart being 5'2",
Mm-hmm.
unless if he's next to The Rock, he doesn't really notice it too much.
Mm-hmm. All right, next one. Michael J. Fox or Seth Green?
Ooh.
And what a pairing. One of the most beloved people in Hollywood and Seth Green.
I was going to do the opposite joke. I'm glad you went there.
Do you want to guess first, Mark?
Seth Green.
I too was going to guess Seth Green.
Yep, by an inch. Michael J. Fox 5'4". Seth Green is 5'3".
Yeah, that one was complete instinct. Like just sort of like this just feels right.
All right, next one. Danny Trejo or Jack Black?
Ooh,
I'm going to go Jack Black.
I'll go Danny Trejo.
It is Danny Trejo by 2
Wow.
inches. Jack Black is 5'7". Danny Trejo is 5'5".
Mark is the king of the short kings.
He knows them.
I
He
don't-
smells his own.
Mine aren't as heightened. My senses.
All right, last one. Rob Schneider or Jason Alexander?
I don't want to guess. I recluse myself. Recuse myself. What was it? Rob Schneider or
Jason Alexander. George Costanza himself.
At the risk of going 4 for 5, I'm going to say Jason Alexander.
out of sheer principle, I'm going to guess Jason Alexander.
It is Rob Schneider.
Yeah.
5'3". Jason Alexander,
Yeah.
I believe, is 5'5".
He finally
I-
wins at something.
I didn't want to say Schneider, even if I thought he was the right answer.
And that's it. That's all I have. That's going to wrap us up this week for They Called This Movie. Yeah, that was our episode on Throw Mama from the Train. You could hit us up on all the socials. TikTam Pod on Instagram and Twitter. They Call This Movie on TikTok. And if you got any suggestions of movies you want us to watch, hit us up on the old Gmail, tictampod@gmail.com. Great place to get a hold of us. If you've got some time, if you're listening to this episode, you want to show some love, go on your podcatcher of choice, give us a 5-star rating, give us a review, help us out a great deal, and all that fun stuff. And that's going to wrap us up this week. The director of Throw Momma from the Train is Danny Devito. So, for Dan Aquino and Mark Myers, this is Anthony Del Vecchio telling Danny Devito, well, you certainly made a movie, didn't you? Thanks for listening to They Called Us a Movie. Subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts, and be sure to check us out on Twitter and Instagram at TicTamPod. That's TCTAM Pod. You can also check us out on TikTok at They Called Us a Movie.